Hello everyone, Hyper here. In this video, we'll be talking about the Subtlety rogue in Battle for Azeroth. We'll be taking a look at all of the talents, abilities, and passives that were added, removed, or changed in any major way. As far as baseline abilities goes, nothing was removed, and the only new baseline passive that we get is Shadow's Grasp. And this passive makes your Backstab, Shadow Strike, and Shuriken Storm slow enemies by 30%. For abilities that were changed, Nightblade gained an additional passive, causing it to reduce the healing the affected target receives by 20%. Shadow Dance was buffed to last 5 seconds instead of 4, and Shadow Techniques was buffed to also regen 8 energy when it is procced. Shuriken Combo was nerfed from a 10% bonus per additional target hit down to a 5%. Feint now has a 15-second long cooldown and only reduces 40% of the AoE damage taken. And Cloak of Shadows was increased from a 1.5-minute cooldown to a 2-minute cooldown. Let's take a quick look at the talent tree. In Tier 1, this is our damage row. Master of Subtlety was removed and was replaced by Find Weakness. This new talent makes your Shadow Strike and Cheap Shot to reduce your target's armor by 40% for 10 seconds. Weapon Master was also changed to make your Shadow Strike and Backstab to have a 15% chance to hit twice. Tier 2, this is our Stealth row. Shadow Focus was nerfed to make abilities cost 25% less while in Stealth or Shadow Dance is active. This was previously 75%. In Tier 3, this is our Combo Point row. Anticipation was removed and replaced by Marked for Death, and the cooldown of Marked for Death was reduced from 60 seconds to 30 seconds. Tier 4 is our Defensive row, and this was unchanged. Then Tier 5 is our Utility row, where Tangle Shadows was removed and was replaced by Night Terrors. This makes your Shuriken Storm reduce the movement speed of enemies by an additional 30%. Strike from the Shadows was removed and was replaced by Shot in the Dark, which makes your next Cheap Shot free after entering Stealth or Shadow Dance. Prey on the Weak was buffed to always apply a 6-second damage bonus when casting Cheap Shot or Kidney on the target. Tier 6 is our Shadow Dance row. Dark Shadows was changed to increase your damage while in Shadow Dance by 25%, down from previous 30%. Alacrity hasn't been changed, but I wanted to mention it because it's very out of place, because Sub-Rogue doesn't rely on haste, rather we rely on passive ways of regenerating our energy. And it would be nice to see if this talent be replaced by something that is actually relevant in this tier. Tier 7 is our AoE row. Death from Above was removed and made into a PvP talent. Marked for Death was moved away from this row, leaving space for 2 new talents. Secret Technique is a new finisher ability that creates 3 clones of yourself who deal damage in a line in front of them. This ability and this talent was implemented a few weeks ago, but it is still bugged and does absolutely nothing. So that was also a major reason why I've been putting this video off and kind of waiting for this to get fixed, but sadly I can't really delay it anymore. In an ideal world, and I think what the idea behind this talent is that you take it on AoE where you either have a very high amount of targets or you take it with a build where you stack damage increases, like with the previous DFA build. Shuriken Tornado is also a new talent that makes you Shuriken Storm passively every second for 4 seconds. The first talent build that I want to show you here is the burst damage, and this revolves around getting 2 eviscerates in your Shadow Dance and always making sure that you proc Find Weakness before your Shadow Dance. So Shadow Strike will always be our first ability when we go into Shadow Dance, unless it's our opener, since we are opening with that. But the idea is that we take Find Weakness, Night Stalker, and Dark Shadows, all of which buff together to increase our damage while in Shadow Dance. Opener is very straightforward. You use Shadow Blades. Then you get your combo points up to apply your Nightblade to the target real quick, and then once you get to about 4 combo points, then you can symbol with Shadow Dance. And again, you Find Weakness, so Shadow Strike is your first ability. And then you get your second Shadow Dance in. My haste and my stats are a little low, so I can't actually get 2 eviscerates in there. But the idea is that you would always get 2 eviscerates in each Shadow Dance. So... And then, since Symbol is only a 30-second cooldown, if you use both your charges of Shadow Dance on opener, you will get 1 back as your Symbol is coming back. And then you just pop them together and they will keep syncing up. And then in dungeons, obviously, you always want to use those together, and you will most likely have them for each trash bag that you will be doing. The second build that I want to show you here is Gloomblade with Shadow Focus and Vigor and Enveloping Shadows. So in this build, we have 3 charges of Shadow Dance, so we want to take Shadow Focus because obviously we have Shadow Dance up more often. Also, we want more energy regen so we can actually pump out that damage during Shadow Dance. And then Gloomblade is just kind of there for that steady armor bypass on our builder. In the last row, with this build, you probably take Master of Shadows. And with the previous build, one thing I forgot to mention is that you most likely will be taking Secret Technique because all of those multipliers kind of boost your damage, and you would Secret Technique inside your Symbol of Death. And there's also a 30-second cooldown, so they will line up nicely together. But until it gets fixed, obviously I can't really show you that build. So the opener, I won't have the Shadow Blades here, but the opener is essentially the same, where you want to open up with Shadow Strike, get your Nightblade up on the target, and then go into Symbols of Death with Shadow Dance. And you're able to get 2 Shadow Dances into your first symbol. And you should aim to get 2 Shadow Dances into every single symbol, since you do have Shadow Dance up more often. So this build doesn't have as high burst damage, but it does very good consistent damage, and depending on what your group needs, either one might be better, but this will largely come down to tuning. As far as AoE goes, Sub-Rogue plays essentially the same as Legion minus DFA, so our DFA ability will essentially just be replaced by Secret Technique, which you're just going to have to position a little bit smarter whenever you use it than you did with DFA. Since the talent is broken, I can't really show you good gameplay of this, but hopefully it gets fixed in a near future patch. So what are my overall thoughts on the Sub-Rogue? Well, for raiding, Sub-Rogue will most likely still be pretty good because we have good utility with Cloak of Shadows and Feint, even though they were nerfed. But if you played Legion and you played Rogue in Legion, you know how strong those abilities were, and no one is really surprised that they were nerfed, especially if you played in Tomb of Sargeras. For Mythic Plus, Rogue will probably still be very strong because your Symbol of Death is a very short cooldown, it is only 30 seconds, and you're always able to pair that with Shadow Dance, so for every single pack you're able to re-stealth, open up, and then you have that big damage combo. For leveling, Sub-Rogue is probably one of the strongest leveling melees just because how strong Death from Above is and how strong our opening burst damage is. Since we're able to re-stealth between every single pack, you're able to one-shot or two-shot mobs even at very low eye level. So when I was leveling this rogue, my gear was very, very low because obviously these characters on the beta start out with very, very basic gear. And I was still able to 2- to 3-shot mobs. So I can only assume that in Mythic gear, you will be able to level very, very quickly as sub if you're taking Phantom Assassin and Death from Above. For PvP, obviously Sub-Rogue is still very strong, same reasons as in Legion, good mobility, good utility, and hopefully good damage. And if the damage isn't there, obviously Rogue has 3 DPS specs, so there's always something to fall back on. Thank you so much for watching my BFA preview of the Subtlety Rogue, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and sub to the channel, and if you want to support this channel directly, you can check out my Patreon, which is linked in the description box. Again, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.